Hello everyone, it's Shel C from PaperOcotilloStudio, and today I'm sharing with you my project for the StencilGirl Creative Team. This is the August project, and it is themed passages. And I had to think about that and what it means to me. I've been thinking a lot about the passing of time, beginnings and endings, and changes that are happening in our world. And so I wanted to make something about going through time and going through all these different doors into different experiences. And so I decided to use some stencils that have windows or doors as their theme. So this first one is from Carolyn Dubie, and it is, let's see, L359 Arched Aqueduct. It has a lot of arches in different sizes, and they remind me of windows and doors. So I'm gel printing to make some collage paper to use on my piece. And I'm starting with my 6x6 gel plate, and I'm using a combination of acrylic paint and pan pastel. Pan pastel is a fine art product that is a pigment in a powder form. It has something mixed with it that keeps it in these little cakes, but it's really creamy, not too much dust or anything. And I'm applying it to my gel plate using just kind of a pouncing patting motion with the pastel on a cosmetic wedge. And then I'm picking it back up off the plate onto some thin papers. This is just printer paper with a thin layer of acrylic paint. Sometimes I put the acrylic paint down and then I pick up through the holes. Sometimes I just put the stencil right on the plate, put the pan pastel through the holes, and then pick it up, take the stencil off and pick up the pan pastel with the thin layer of acrylic paint using my brayer. You can usually get more than one print, and the way that you clean off the plate is to put some baby oil on it and then wipe it with like a kitchen towel or something. It doesn't need to be wet, like paper towel. So then I switched to my 8x10 gel plate. It's a little bit larger for these larger stencils. This one is Door to Heart 9 by Pam Carricker. I don't want to use the stuff that's on the inside of the stencil. It has this really cute branch with a heart hanging from it. I'm just selecting the parts of the stencil that I want to use, and I put the dark gray, and it makes the shape of the doorway. And then I'm putting some other colors and blending them in on the inside of the doorway with my pan pastel. So you can select what you want to use even when you're gel printing. If you use pan pastel, you could also do it with paint, but it's easier with the pan pastel. So then I just put a thin layer of gray paint over it to pick everything up. And this is what you get, which is kind of cool. And then I do another print with some buff titanium paint, and it makes a different lighter print, which I end up using on the project. But I like having options. I like having more than one thing to try out. See, that one's a lot lighter. So then I want to make some larger pieces with the Arched Aqueduct from Carolyn Dubie again. That's L359 if you'd like to purchase it on the StencilGirl Products website. And I'm using cool colors. Mostly I'm using blues and purples and gray, a lot of gray. This piece is pretty dark because what I'm thinking about is dark. I mean, I'm thinking about being born and then dying and the things that happen in between. That's what this piece is about. And so it's a lot darker than my usual work. I usually am a very bright, cheerful, super bright colors type of an artist, but this isn't a super bright color type of a theme. So now this one is, what's this one called? Window Ledge by Pam Carricker, S040. And I really like the window shape. I didn't want to use the stuff that was in the window, but I wanted it to have an arch top because all my other ones have an arch. And so I took back that Door to Heart 9 stencil and I used the arch on the top of the window as if it has a transom. And then I used the little lines from inside this window stencil to make three little lines like it has a transom, like that's what that would look like, I think. So I kind of selected different pieces of the stencil, and it's so easy to do with pan pastel. It's so easy to do that. I think easier than doing it with acrylic paint on the gel plate. So I'll end up getting two prints of this one as well, one with the gray and one with the off-white, the buff titanium acrylic paint for picking up. The pan pastel is fairly opaque, but you do get an effect from what color of paint you pick it up with. So now this one is the ATC mix-up that Pam Carricker did, and as you can see, it has some of those same images. It has this same heart doorway, and it has the same window up, which I don't use it, up in the top. Then it also has this other arched one that has a little bird, and I end up using that one. I didn't want the bird, so I didn't stencil the bird. I stenciled around the bird, and then I filled it in with some dark pan pastel, and filling in the doorways with the lighter colors as if the light is shining through. So I pick one of them up with gray, and then I think I do a second one with the off-white again. So you get the idea of the process for the gel printing collage papers with pan pastel. So here are some pictures of some of the papers that I made. That's with the aqueduct stencil, and then this one is with the different doors and windows stencils, and that's what I'm going to use for my piece. So I'm starting out with the plainer pieces, the ones that are made with the arched aqueduct stencil, and I want to create a collage background that starts darker at the bottom left corner, going to lighter at the upper right corner. So I'm trying to create kind of a ombre or gradient going from diagonally from the bottom to the top. So I'm picking out the pieces that I want based on that kind of concept. How dark are they? What color are they? What's the tonality of them? And I'm using Liquitex matte gel medium. I'm spritzing the back of the paper and then applying the medium to both the back of the paper and the canvas panel. This is a 11 by 14 flat back canvas panel from Hobby Lobby. It's a Master's Touch. And then I'm using a scraper tool to smooth down the collage paper. I don't want any bubbles or bumps or creases. And I'm also using a distressed collage brush, which is fairly wide and short, so I can, as I'm going over the top, I can press down the paper just to make sure that everything is adhered well. When you're using this large of pieces of paper, you do have a lot more chance of having bubbles and creases and stuff. Can be annoying. I'm also wrapping the extra flaps around to the back. I do this on the deeper canvases, and I don't know that I'm going to frame this. Might just hang it up as it is. So I wanted to make sure that the edges were covered and everything was, real clean looking. Now I do have some tissue paper that I printed at the same time. I was actually picking up paint through the holes of the stencil, and this goes translucent, so it gives me the possibility of having kind of blender pieces. I had a problem there, and I had to peel out some of the paper. It stuck, and anyway, it wadded up. It was nasty. So that's fine. I can touch all this up where my fingers have touched and pulled off some of the paper. When you get medium on your hands and then you use your hand to hold your canvas and it's not yet dry, the medium on your fingers can stick to the medium on the canvas and it can pull off the paper, and that's what happened here on the left hand side, but I can touch that up with paint. So then I have 3 different sizes and designs of these stenciled doorway window type of idea. And I'm attaching them, going from smallest to biggest, darkest to lightest across the canvas. I've torn around the edges so that they don't have real harsh cut out edges, but more kind of a blender type of edge by doing the tearing. And then I'm just taking my fingers and a little bit of paint and touching up and blending some areas with the acrylic paint, same colors that I used for the gel printing. So it's easy to get some blends going on in the gray, the black, and then also to touch up some of those places where I was touching the canvas when it was still wet and it got a little bit peeled. This is some Naples yellow acrylic paint that I'm just putting on with my fingers as well. I want the doors to have light coming through, as if there's something on the other side that you want to reach. Whatever goal it is you have in your life, that you're going to step through this door that's going to change you forever. I want it to appear appealing on the other side. So I'm trying to get light shining through. So then I have some photos, and where I got these are royalty-free photos from a place called Unsplash. As if you're not splashing, you're unsplashing.com. And it's a great place if you need reference photos or you need photos that you can use in your artwork without any royalties. They do ask that you, if you're going to use them, you tell people about Unsplash. So I'm telling you about it. I took these, I changed the sizes, I cropped them, and I changed them to black and white so that I would have this tonal look on the photos. I cut them out and I glued them down, starting, with the baby. You're born into this world, and then up at the top was the only place I could find to put that teenager. And then maybe you become a mom yourself and you have a little girl. Maybe you're married and you're retired, and then eventually you're older and you're moving on. So that is all the images that I had. So now I'm mark making with a Jerry's Artorama Jumbo Jet pencil. It's a charcoal and oil, I think, mixed together pencil. You can blend it a little bit with your fingers. And then I'm writing my words with a acrylic paint pen, which is made by Uniposca. This is the fine tip, and I'm writing in my own handwriting. I don't do this very often. I don't like it. But I wanted to put this quote on here. I thought it went exactly with what I was trying to say with this piece. So I did it in a couple layers of the white paint. And now I'm going to add in some more color. I've got out my pan pastels again, and I have some soft tools, SOFFT, which is made by Pan Pastel. Interesting thing about Pan Pastel, if you get it somewhere where you don't want it, you can erase it with an eraser. So like I got a little bit of that lavender on the elderly lady, and I'm going to need to erase that. I got a little bit of this blue onto my mom with child person, but I'm working on the background right now, trying to add some color and interest to the background. I keep going around that top one and trying to get the edge darker, and I end up having to use actually some black, because if you recall, I put matte medium on this and I didn't put a pastel ground over the top of it. So the pastel doesn't adhere as well to that more of a slick medium. I could have gotten out the ground, which is kind of basically a medium that has a sandy texture for pastel use, but I just didn't. I just kept going. So then I got out some small these tools. These look like applicators for eyeshadow, but they're not. They're from the Soft Tools. They have a denser foam. And I'm coloring in over the top of the grayscale printing on these photos. So I don't have to fuss very much about highlights and shadows. I just have to make sure that that pastel is thin enough that you can see the grayscale printing through. So I'm putting it on and then I'm kind of just wiping it back a little bit with my paper towel, which is in my left hand. I'm also going around the edges of the images with a Stabilo All pencil, which is a highly water reactive pencil. And then I'm blending that out with my Pentel water brush. So you get kind of a shadow that blends into the background and makes these pieces not appear as if they're stuck on like stickers, but more as if they are part of the piece. I'm also going back and forth using the Jumbo Jet pencil and the Stabilo pencil, and eventually my white Posca pen again for some sketchy highlights. Just working back and forth. When I finish this lower portion, I do spray it with some Spectrafix, which is a workable fixative that is a non-aerosol. It's like a pump spray. Just so that when my arm goes over the top of this pastel on the bottom part as I'm working on the top, it doesn't smear. And then, of course, you can come back in and work over the top of that type of a fixative. You could also use an aerosol one, but we should take it outside if you're going to do that. There's lots of workable fixatives out there. You just have to pick one. So going back and forth, adding color, adding a little bit of shadow. Like in this case, I used lavender pastel, and then I came back in with the purple pastel and put it in the shaded areas. Adding color to the hair, adding that outline shadow to make them appear more painterly rather than photographs. I think you can tell that they're photographs, but they also blend in well enough that you could think that they were drawn or painted. So that's the look I was going for. I added a strong highlight to the blocks on the left-hand side of that middle piece because I thought I needed to bring in some of that light from the top. The top upper part is very much lighter, and I needed to bring some of that in. So this was a really fun project. My friend Peg Robinson and we pick the same stencils and then we both do a project with them. So on the blog post, you'll see what she did with the same stencils, and she also will have a video as well. So her piece is different than mine, and it's fun to see what two different people do with the same exact StencilGirl stencils. So be sure to check hers out as well. Not sure what else I have to say about this. I'm just coloring with the pastel, adding color here and there as I see fit. I give the old lady a blue dress. I think blue is a common color. I wanted everything to blend together. I've got the same purples, the same pinks, the same blues from the pastel going all through the piece, and the same gray and gray blue. I don't really use any warm colors except for that yellow, which is a very pale yellow that I think looks like the glow of light. Oh yeah, I do have to kind of draw in the feet on the teenager. She's wearing white sneakers, and the picture was cut off because she was sitting on something and her feet were behind it, so I had to draw a little bit of the feet back in. Not a big deal. I made all the characters female because I'm female, and it's kind of, the story of life. I haven't gotten to the cane wielding lady age yet. I'm closer to the couple, past the teenager and the mom. My kids are older than that little girl, so I'm more closer to the one on the left. But still enjoying life, although I am thinking about the passage of time and changes and things that are happening. So that's what my piece is about. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please remember to give it a thumbs up. You can leave a comment or a question below. You can subscribe to this channel. You can turn on notification bells so that you know when a new fresh video comes out. And all those things help other people find this channel who might be interested in the same things that you are. So thanks so much for watching. That's it for me. Bye-bye.